What's up, America? I'm Danny T. Welcome to the show. Well, the Supreme Court ruled 6-3 in favor of letting parents pull kids out of classes teaching LGBTQ plus themed lessons. I think this is a huge win for both the parents and the kids. I've said this before. I'm a Republican, but I support LGB. That's about where I draw the line. I think everything after that is just mental illnesses. Um, I don't think it belongs in schools. I don't think we should be teaching kids that, Larry can be Laura just because he thinks he's a different gender. Uh, I don't think we're the ones misgendering. I think they're misgendering themselves. They want us to play along. I just, bottom line, I don't think it should be taught in class. I mean, they've pulled the Pledge of Allegiance out of class. You're not allowed to teach religion, Christianity, things like that in school. Um, you can't have the Ten Commandments anywhere. I just feel like we shouldn't be teaching kids these things. Um, as I've said, I support LGB. I don't think, if I don't think our daughters should be married to someone that isn't truly in love with them and pretending to be something they're not. If you're gay, go be gay. Uh, Same the other way around. I don't think our son should be in loveless relationships pretending to be something they're not. You know what I mean? But the whole trans thing and on, the furries, just all the weird stuff, we can do without it. As I've said, it just doesn't belong in school, in my opinion. You do what you want behind closed doors. If you're an adult and you want to mutilate your body or you want to throw on a dress or do whatever, do it. But, you know, leave the kids out of it. Don't expect people to play along. Do your thing. Uh, be whatever you want, but leave me out of it. I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way. But moving on from this, the Fauci Diaries got released. They're public. Anyone can go look at them. Uh, Ron Paul put them out there. Uh, you know, I'm not always a fan of libertarians. I think Thomas Massey helped push me away from them. And his followers. But people like Ron Paul out there, I don't mind people questioning my party. I think having libertarians out there is a good thing. I don't think anyone should totally follow any politician, and having people like libertarians out there, it's good to have that. Uh, but I think a lot of libertarians out there, they're walking a fine line of being rhinos or, really just siding with Dems a lot. And I don't think that belongs in the Republican Party. But people like Ron Paul, I've been gaining a lot of respect for him. Throughout the years, I've always kind of respected him, but these past few months especially, he's really shining in my opinion. But like I said, this documents everything from 2019 to 2022. It's 1,141 pages of just, Fauci's documenting everything, his how starstruck he was, talking about how he's all over the place and a hot topic now and whatever. Uh, you know, I just think he's a terrible person. Everyone was affected by COVID differently. I'm not a fan of the man. But the Ron Paul hearing that he had for Fauci was amazing to watch. You just saw all kinds of people tearing into Fauci. Um, Unfortunately, Fauci did plead the fifth 111 times, which is pretty crazy. All we heard for years was, follow the science and I am the science. And then, when you question the science, it has nothing to say, I guess. It's pretty wild. COVID did cost $16 trillion to the United States alone for just shutdowns, relief packages, just all the BS all down the line. Again, that's just the United States. The whole world was affected by this. Lives were ruined. I personally know a couple people that had their businesses shut down. They had to close down. They couldn't afford to keep it open when things got back. They were forced to sell. Their lives were definitely affected by that. On top of that, you had family members dying alone in hospitals because of the COVID scare that was being pushed out, the BS by Fauci, and uh, it's just insane. You couldn't go to funerals. I knew people that died during COVID, and their families weren't allowed to have services. You weren't allowed to have big gatherings. I remember even Thanksgiving, you weren't allowed to have more than a handful of people over, is what they were allowing, which is insane. People were getting arrested at beaches, public places. You weren't allowed to go out in public without your mask on. Not even a real mask. It's a cloth material over your face is somehow supposed to protect you from the deadliest virus you've ever had, right? It's just insane. His wife also, I'm not saying she benefited personally from this. It's just weird that she was working at the National Institute of Health during the time. She was the chief of the Department of Bioethics. I'm sure she had some promotions along the line. She has changed jobs since, but nonetheless, what we can follow is their net worth. Their combined net worth in 2019 was $7.6 million. Between 2020 and 2021, that net worth jumped up to $12.6 million. That was during the height, the peak of the pandemic. Today, they're worth about 15 mil. It's just insane. You hear it's from investments and this and that, but what investments? RFK wrote a book back in 2021 connecting Fauci to Bill Gates, connecting all that to the COVID pandemic and how they work together. It's not a bad little read. We all do know that Bill Gates is a globalist, right? Uh, he's not America first whatsoever. He wants the whole world, one nation, right? It's pretty wild. We also know that he 100% backed all the mandates. While backing the mandates, he was also backing big pharma. So making money that way. I'm sure Fauci made some investments there too, right? On top of that, totally unrelated. I mean, we do know Bill Gates is just a slimy guy, right? Uh, he was all over the Epstein files. In fact, his wife at the time left him because he got an STD while frolicking around with Epstein. Uh, he's just a shitty guy all around, in my opinion. I'm not a huge fan of Bill Gates. I never have been. But tying into this, we also have the Biden tapes got released. Biden was talking to his ghostwriter while writing his memoirs. You definitely hear him forgetting things, messing things up. I think the important part of that is his mental state, uh, not just during the ghostwriting for his memoirs, but if his mental health was in question during his presidency, uh, during the pardons that he gave Fauci, those Faucis could be void. Someone with dementia can't pardon someone, or an auto pen can't pardon someone if they're not the president, which would be great if that got pulled. And then Fauci could be taken to court uh, by Ron Paul, like a serious court, not just a committee hearing. Um, on top of this, you have several people that want to take Fauci out on state levels. People like DeSantos are on the front lines of this. Also, I mean, if Fauci goes to court and gets convicted on state levels, that pardon doesn't matter at that point either. I just think it's a win if they can prove Biden's mental health wasn't quite there, or if someone like DeSantos can get him on a state level and other states follow suit. Really ruin Fauci's day there. I think he deserves it. Some accountability needs to be done, in my opinion. But moving on to this, Morocco invaded Spain. We've all seen this all over the TV over the weekends on the internet everywhere. Uh, it's pretty insane. Over a 2-day period, 60,000 migrants from Morocco stormed a small enclave in Spain. They were devouring the town's resources like locusts. Uh, Italy even shut down travels to and from Spain till they got this under control. Uh, I've heard everywhere from 50 to upwards of 86 people died during the invasion, mostly from drowning or getting trampled. As far as I know, none of the Spaniards got hurt, um, but people from Morocco did. Uh, 53,000 of them have left already. They either left on their own or they were forced to leave rather than face repercussions legally because, they weren't allowed to do this. This was an invasion. Uh, Now you hear people lying like Thomas Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene, his little chirping crow that sits on his shoulder. They're claiming the U.S. Uh, this was a U.S. psyop, right? That somehow the United States talked about and voted on this and approved that Moroccans can go into Spain. And uh, this is absolutely false. This isn't even an exaggeration. This is totally a lie. The actual text that Massey is referring to was it was from a approximation committee report where uh, they were taking Morocco's testimony, territory claims were being discussed, right? Uh, th- what the texts were they were talking about that they supported diplomatic conversations with all the parties involved in if the territory belonged to Morocco or if it belonged to Spain or how they're going to do this. The United States had nothing to do with this. We don't vote on anything to do that's not ours, right? The United States has no jurisdiction in places where we don't own land, and we don't own land over there. So it's just a blatant lie. In fact, both Morocco and Spain came out saying that they think this was like drug cartels and traffickers made up this lie to get the beaches stormed. They were telling people that Spain had a court ruling where they were opening up their borders to people from Morocco, and anyone that came was allowed to stay there. It wasn't anything to do with us. But when you look at the sources, it's not surprising. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene. If you haven't been watching my show, I'm not a fan of her or Massey. Marjorie Taylor Greene resigned just days after her pension kicked in. Right, she was so upset by the administration that she didn't just quit. She waited till she got paid for the rest of her life. So we have to pay her. Our tax dollars go to her salary the rest of her life now, and we get to hear her bitching about the United States and our administration and keep hearing her lies that she pushes out. Massey's a different story. He's still a liar. Uh, his lies on how he only lost because of Israel donations. I've said this before. I don't think anyone needed to put a penny into a campaign against Massey. He still would have lost. We, the people, the Republican Party is sick of Massey. You don't represent us. The man's voting record shows that he's just not one of us. On top of that, the constant lying and BS, even the Epstein thing. I mean, I've said this before. The 3 or 4 Epstein episodes I've done, I've given you way more names than Thomas Massey has or ever will. Uh, when he finally dropped those names, he kept promising he was going to drop 3 of the names we already knew from the start. The other 3 were people that were just names in the files. I've yet months down the road, I can't find anything on these people. They're just names in the file. Uh, it's just ridiculous. On top of this, I feel like a lot of people forget. Uh, they gave Congress full access to the files, unredacted. I think it was like 2 or 4 hours, whatever they wanted. They were able to look at it, read into it, any topic they wanted, anyone. You had, I'm not sure if Marjorie Taylor Greene was still there or not at that time, but Thomas Massey sure was. So was Jasmine Crockett. So was Ro Khanna. So was Ilhan Omar. So are all these people against our current administration. None of them found anything in there, or they would have told us, right? Thomas Massey is still promising he's going to drop names before the end of his career here. I'm telling you right now, he's not going to tell you anything that we don't already know because it's just not there. He's just a liar. I just can't stand Massey. Uh, as I've said, there's things I agree with Massey on, but just because you're telling me words I want to hear doesn't mean uh, that I'm going to believe everything you say, especially when you've lied to me so many times already, you know. Uh, again, when it's coming to this psyop accusation that he's saying, you know, these people, they're not stupid. They're hoping you're stupid. They're hoping you don't do your research. They're hoping you just take them on their word. Uh, you know what? You should never trust anyone that wears a tie to work every day. Do your research, America. Make sure you're getting the facts out there and not believing these politicians. You know, these are not our friends. You know, they're supposed to represent us, and if they're not doing a good job representing us, you know, vote them out like we already did with Massey. Hopefully, some of them resign like Marjorie Taylor Greene, but you know, always vote them out if they're not aligning with you. That's all you got to do, and we don't have to hear from them again. You know. But moving on from this, the First Circuit Court of Appeals reversed the decision to block the temporary protection status being lifted from South Sudan and Ethiopian migrants, uh, and they should start being sent back this month, which is amazing. Uh, I think it's great. You know, as I've said, I'm from Ohio. DeWine is fighting the Haitians getting taken out of here. DeWine is a rhino. Um, you know, as I've said before, I don't always agree with everything Ramaswamy says, but I think he will definitely make Ohio a lot redder than it is. I can't wait for DeWine to get out of here. Hopefully, we don't get a Democrat. Hopefully it's Ramaswamy. You know, I don't think he'll have a problem, even with Ramaswamy's immigration policies and how lax he feels on those. You know, I think he would definitely get rid of these Haitians. If the wine keeps giving Trump trouble over this, you know. But on another note, uh, you know, Trump also wanted to pull the temporary protection status of the Somalis, but that has been blocked in court. So hopefully, you know, it goes the same way and the Court of Appeals reverses it. Uh, you know, I think a lot of these migrants here need to go. You know, a lot of them are just collecting checks. You know, they're getting EBT, they're getting financial assistance, they're buying homes. You know, they're only here on temporary protection status. This is not them immigrating here. You know, when people support these illegal immigrants, you know, the real immigrants that come here legally, you know, it's offensive to them, in my opinion. You know, you have people that come here and they're patriots and they love being here and they're happy to get away from the shithole countries that they ran away from. People like this that come here and they still live the same way they lived over there. They still support that, but they have no problem taking money from us. I'm totally okay with getting rid of people like that. You know, it's not a race issue. You keep hearing that. It's, you know, I if Ukrainians are doing it, you're the Ukrainians. You know, I just don't think we should be accepting freeloaders here. I think the only immigrants we should be taking in are people that are going to uh, help contribute and make this country better, you know. And if you can't do that, you don't deserve a United States citizenship. And again, if you're here on temporary protection status and you're just here collecting money and not really contributing much, yeah, I'm all for these statuses getting pulled, like we're saying right now. You know, I fully appreciate what this administration is doing when in regards to that, you know. But that's really all I got for you today, America. You know, if you like things I talk about, give my channel a like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me on Rumble. Uh, follow the Republican Rebuttal podcast on Facebook. I'm also on YouTube. Uh, I'll see you later, America.